All right, so this is the project we're going to be making, and you can make the whole thing or not. This has a box to store this folio inside, and this is a 1/2 inch wide 6x8 folio. And so first we're going to go through making the box. So if you don't want to make the box, you can skip through and head over to this folio, which looks like this. We'll just do a quick walkthrough. So again, it's a 6x8. This is kind of like a junk journal style that I made. I wanted to do something a little bit different from my usual. Oops, that popped out of there. So there's a lot of different little elements in here than you usually see me do. But here we have a little flap, another little belly band with some stuff tucked inside, another belly band over here with some photo mats. Then we have some pockets, and we open up this way, more pockets. And then on this side, we've got, and we'll just zoom in here a little bit more. I've got side pockets here, and then this opens up. I have some more pockets on this side, and then this really cute notepad that I've incorporated in here that I really like. Okay, and then another little pocket over here with some tucks in there. Okay, so let's start with making the outside of the box. So you're going to cut out a piece that measures 8.5 by 9.5. Let's go ahead and cut that to get this turned around. So this is already 8.5, so I will cut it down to 9.5. Okay, and now you're going to score it along the long side. Okay, at 1.5 inches rather. So score it at 1.5 and at 8. So there's my 1.5 and at 8. So I want to say, so this is now what we're making here is the bottom and the sides of the box. Okay, so let's just set that aside for a second. We can burnish those sides in a minute, but let's continue to cut the other pieces so we can start to attach. Let's cut out the piece for the front of the box. So this is going to be 8.5 inches by 2 inches. Okay. And now you're going to score that, turn this around, score it at 1 inch. Okay, and 7.5 inches. Okay, and then flip it along the bottom and score it 1/2 inch. That. Okay, and now same thing, I'm going to cut off these little bits, and I'm going to move this out of the way for a second. I don't need it at the moment. So we're just going to remove these little bits here. Okay. Go. Okay, so now we're ready to cut those off to construct the box. So I'm just going to go ahead and press down on all these pieces. One other trick, or one other thing I want you to do, is miter the edges, but not all of them. So I'll show you what I mean. So this is going to be attached to the front of the box. I don't want this to stick out, so I'm just going to cut off. I'm going to go from this score line and cut off just a little tiny bit so it's kind of got this angle to the edge. Like that. Okay, let's make the top flap of the box. So this piece is going to be 8.5 by 10.5. Okay, so that's already 8.5. And then I'm going to score this along each side at 1 inch. Okay, so I'm going to do the short side along the edge of your scoreboard and just score this at 1 inch. And then flip it and do the same to the other side at 1 inch. Okay, and then score the bottom at 1/2 inch. And end at, do that enough, yeah, and then at 2 inches. So, sorry, I've done a lot of flipping. I'll go over this again with you. So you're scoring here and here, 1 inch in on each side. Then you're going to turn this and you're going to score 1/2 inch in and then 2 inches in, okay? So once you've done that, just fold along all your score lines. Okay, and burnish a little. You don't have to burnish too aggressively. This is not, I'm just trying to see, yeah. If you get any cracking, try folding the paper the other way. And try to be just a little more gentle with your burnishing. But what I need to do now is I need to get rid of some of these pieces. So for the lid, I don't need these side pieces. Okay, I suppose we could have them. I'm just trying to think of how I want this to work. And I'm just gonna have the lid. No, we need to cut them off. Sorry guys, thinking out loud. So let me show you what you're gonna cut off. Essentially, you're removing these 2 entire sides from this score line and then along this score line here, okay? So essentially all of this is gonna be cut off. And then you're gonna skip this piece here and gonna cut off this little tiny piece down here, okay? And you're gonna do the same for the other side. So these ones down at the bottom, I'm just gonna use my scissors. So same thing on both sides. Okay, and now for these parts, I'm going to put them into my trimmer. So I'm going to line up my trimmer so it's lined up with the score line. I want to be just slightly to this side, okay? I'm going to cut slightly over on this side from the, so here's my score line. I'm going to cut over here, okay? Let me move this up a little. So here's the score line. I'm cutting slightly over, not like, I mean, it's just basically don't cut on top of the score line, cut right next to it, okay? So I'm cutting all the way and I'm gonna stop at this score line down here because I'm only removing this piece. So I'm stopping there. I'm gonna do the same thing on this side. All right. Okay. I can see that I wasn't properly lined up here. And I will see how that impacts my box once I attach it. Probably just gonna leave it alone for the tutorial, but I have cut the score line off. So I probably will fix this in a second and cut another one. But anyways, we're gonna keep going. I want you to miter these corners too. So this side and this side, but notice what, I'm only doing it to the top, not to the bottom, okay? So you'll miter that. And now we can put the box together. Actually, I don't think it matters that I cut a little bit in, but anyways, try not to do that. Okay, so let's bring all of the box pieces back together. So first thing I'm gonna do is attach this front piece. So let's put double-sided tape on this side. So we're going to put our double-sided tape is going from the edge up to the first score line. Okay, and now I'm just going to peel back one little corner and reveal the sticky edge, and then I'm going to line up. This is going to stick under here from score line to score line, okay? So first I'm going to line it up, make sure everything looks good. Looks like I could nudge it in just a smidgen. Okay, I can still see my score line, that way it'll fold up nicely. Okay, so there's that. Now I want to tuck those into the inside because it'll be nice and neat. So I'm just going to go in actually, oh, what's happened here? I'm going to use my glue. So I'm just putting glue down here and a little bit of glue over here. I'm going to make sure that this edge is coming all the way over. Usually I can hold this flat to the bottom. Oops. So because we're using the glue, it takes another little bit of a second to stick down. So we'll just hold on to that for a second. So here is the base of the box already. Okay. Good. Now we can add the top flap. So same thing we're going to do. Put our double-sided tape down at the bottom. Peel back a corner so we can see what we're doing. And then line this up. Okay, great. And then I want to attach these little side pieces to the inside. You can do them to the outside too. It really doesn't matter because we are going to cover this all up. So I think maybe I will do them to the outside on this side just so you can see the difference and rather see that it doesn't matter. So this time I'm just going to use a little piece of tape on the outer edge here and I'll put glue on the rest of it. Okay. Same on this side. All right, and you can see how quickly that box has come together. Now, one thing I just realized we didn't do is we actually have to score this so that it stands up. So it's fine. It's not too late. Normally I would have done this before, but you want to score this top of the box at 4 inches. Okay, so just get it back onto your scoring board and score it at 4 and 4 inches. There we go. All right. So now we can fold that down. And that will just sit up here with the flap on top. After I show you, because we're going to add a little piece here that's going to help it stay in place, but it's just paper, so it really does kind of like hang out properly. So that's that. Okay, so I want to finish up the lid to the box. So I had embellished this, and we're going to need to make a card for this to sit on, which will be the piece that kind of sits on top of the box. So we are going to cut a piece that measures 7.5 by 9.5. So just grab your heavy cardstock for this one and cut down a piece that is 7.5 by 9.5. Okay. And then I'm going to mat this onto here evenly, so it's even all around. So I do want to ink the edges of this as well. Continue my rustic look. And if you don't have a heavy piece of cardstock, you can actually you can layer this up as well. So, so the more layers actually, the better. So you can keep just layering it. This is quite thick and layered, so I'm going to just go ahead And actually, I am going to add one more layer just because I like the way it looks. But this will be the lid, and the lid should be a little bit bigger than the rest of the box just so it can actually stand up and not sink, so it doesn't sink into the box, rather. Okay. All right, so I'm going to just glue this on. There we go. Now this can go right on top. Okay, that looks good. Okay, so there's our lid, and it's going to sit on top of the box like so. So I want to make sure that I'm centering it. Okay, so now the flap that we made, we're just going to hold that down, flip the box open for a second. I want to make sure this gets glued exactly here. So I'm going to do this sort of upside down gluing. Okay, so I'm being pretty generous because this is going to have lots of movement. And I can just drop that down. Make sure that you put it the right way up. And we can cover all of this with patterned paper later as well, but I like to wait till I'm done. Okay, so there's your lid of your box. So it's bigger than the base, but that's because I want it to be able to stand up. Okay, I don't know how to show this on camera, but anyway, I think you guys get it. And there were some pictures that you can, still shots that you can see. So then your album just fits inside, and in this case we have room to add other keepsakes or notes or photos as well, but this could sit on display somewhere. And you can make this in many different sizes, but this is sort of a sample of a 6x8 size, which gives you lots of room for journaling or whatever it is that you'd like to do. Okay, so for this album, this is going to be a 6x8 album, and it's going to fit in the box. So I'm using the Simple Stories 6x8 paper pad. It is the Simple Vintage Fresh Snow collection, which I think lends itself really well to kind of like a shabby chic look. So this is the pad, and this is going to be a simple kind of trifold. I think is it a trifold really? Anyways, you will see. So let's get started on building the album. So I'm just going to set this to the side while we start to cut up our pieces here. So a couple of things. You're going to need a trimmer and a scoring board. Mine is built into my trimmer here, so I don't need to have two separate tools. I'm going to be using some liquid glue. I always like to use the art glitter glue, and we're going to also use some double-sided tape. Okay. The other thing I'm doing, because I want this to be kind of a shabby chic look, I'm going to be inking my edges with Distress Oxide ink as I go. So I'll show you what I mean about that. With the other thing we're going to need in this project for finishings is some eyelets. So I've got these guys here, some twine, so any twine or string or etc. that you like, and a circle punch will come in handy, and also an eyelet setter, or a hole punch if you're not going to use eyelets, but I would highly recommend the eyelets for what we're going to do. So I will put these to the side for now, and we can get started on the album itself. Okay, so first thing we're going to do is cut the base And the base and my measurements are always height by width, okay? So we don't get confused. So I'm using 110-pound cardstock for the base of the album. You can go a little lighter with this too, because it's not a very thick book, so you don't need to use super heavy papers on it. But anyways, let's grab a piece of paper and let's start cutting the base. All right, so first thing we're going to do is cut the left side, and the left side is going to be 8 1/4 by 6 1/4. So let's go ahead and cut that down. 8 1/4 by 6 1/4. Okay, so there is the sort of the size of your album you can imagine, and it's going to fit right into the box that we've made. Okay, that. Okay, so there's my base. Next, you're going to cut a piece that measures 8 1/4 by 7 1/4. So I'm just leaving this here. 8 1/4 by 7 1/4, and now we're going to score this piece. We are going to score this piece, so flip it so that your long side is against the edge of your scoreboard. Actually, no. Sorry, guys. Flip it so the short side, thank God we didn't score anything. Your short side is along the edge of your scoreboard, okay? And you're going to score this at 1/2 inch and at 1 inch. So I'm using my scoring blade here. So at 1/2 inch and then at 1 inch. So what you end up with is a 1/2 inch spine. Okay. And a 1/2 inch for attaching. So let's go ahead and attach those. So we're going to put our score tape along the inside of the fold. So you're going from the outer edge to the first score line, and remembering not to touch the score line itself. Okay, and then just fold back a corner so you can line things up. So when you're lining this up, you always make sure you can see the score line. That way the fold, like, it will actually allow you to fold back and forth. If you cover the score line, you'll have a very awkward fold mechanism. There we go. Okay, that's the base. So as I said, this is my kind of a shabby chic look. So right away, I'm going to just ink up the edges, just so that as I start sticking other pieces down, this might get harder to do. So I'm just inking the edges super quick with my vintage Folio Distress Oxide. You can use whatever color you like here, but I would recommend something in this color range, so maybe tea dye, some other kind of browns. You could also use like a frosty blue, I guess, but that just is a whole different look. This gives you more of that sort of shabby look that we're looking for. Okay, and I'm just going to ink the outside as well. And you see, I'm not being very careful because that's the look. You do not have to do this step at all. You could just keep on, you can keep the edges ink free, but this is the look I'm going for this little book today. And we're going to, of course, be covering this with paper, so but there we go. So there's the base finished. Okay, now let's make the inside flap. So grab another piece of paper, and this piece we're going to measure it at 8 1/4 by 6 3/4. So you can see that everything is 8 1/4 basically, because that's the height of the page. So 8 1/4 by 6 3/4. And then this one, okay, we're going to score this one. You leave the short side in, okay, and you're just going to score this at 1/2 inch and 3/4 inch. 1/2 and 3/4. So this is giving me a 1/4 inch spine. Now, I don't know what is in my bone folder, and I'm not getting up to look for it, but it would be good here to press these down with your bone folder. I'm just doing it like that. Okay, so you bring your base back and open it up, and this is going to be attached over here. So just to show you, here's my spine, and now this is being attached to the right of it. Okay, like so. So this time we're going to, I'm just going to fold it flat because it's easier to work with. And I'm going to grab my double-sided tape, and I'm going to put it on the outside edge this time. So from the edge to the score line, but on the outside of the fold, right along there. Okay. Same thing, we're going to lift off a corner so we can see. And I'm just folding it flat so I can see what I'm doing. Okay, again, do not cover the score line. You're just sort of going right again up to it. Right. And I should have, now I'm realizing I should have inked this already, but this is what you should end up with. Okay, and that still folds up nicely like that. So I'll just quickly ink the edges of this one, which I should have done before attaching it, but anyways, we can do this now. Anyway, I have had this project lingering for a few months, and it's been a really, I don't know, been a really busy winter, and I couldn't get to it, and now it's like spring, and I wasn't going to post it up, but in my part, I wasn't going to finish it actually until the fall. I was going to wait, but where I'm at, I'm in Canada, and though it's been we've had I don't know, 5 warm days, it's unseasonably cold, so I am not feeling in the spring crafting mood just yet. So I thought I would finish it because I bet you there's somebody else out there feeling like me and has some winter paper to use up, and if not, it doesn't matter, because of course with all the designs you can just use them with any paper you like. Anyways, okay, so that's now the inside flap. Now we're going to make another flap that sits on the note, sort of this side here, that's going to be a place that we put a notebook. So this is going to be very very cute and interesting. So anyways, let's just set this to the side, and you're going to measure a piece again at 8 1/4, but this time at 10 1/2. Okay, 10 1/2. And I just need a sip of water. It's so dry. Okay. And then this we're going to score at 6 1/4 and 6 1/2. Okay, so 6 1/4 and 6 1/2. I have to rescore that. I didn't press hard enough. There we go. Okay, and I'm going to ink my edges on this one now before I get too carried away. And in this video, I'm going to do a lot of the decorating with you, which I don't usually do, but I've had requests to do that from a couple of people in my comments, and anyway, that's what we're going to do. I'm so excited to tell you guys, I've had the pleasure, I can't tell you how fun it is. I've met some people who follow my channel in real life, and I don't know, I'm so shy, but they've been so sweet and wonderful and warm and welcoming and so excited. And I've been so excited to meet them too. And it was just kind of a surreal moment for me, because I started this during COVID. We're in lockdown. I was bored. Everybody was bored. My friends said, hey, why don't you do that? Try it out. And it was just for fun. And now, like, it's just grown. I'm not huge or anything by any means, obviously. But I can't tell you, it's very gratifying when you meet people and they love your work. And anyways, if you're one of those people and you're watching, drop me a comment below. I just want to say hi, and thank you for making me feel, you guys make me feel special. So anyway, okay, this is the side that's going to hold a notebook. And so we're going to have to cut a slit into the top of this. And I'm going to do that with you. So I'm going to show you we haven't made the notebook yet, so maybe we should do that next, okay? But we're going to make a little skinny notebook that fits here, and I've pulled out some of the notebook looking pages. It's just a simple little thing, and you can either journal on it or do what you want. But I'm going to be cutting these sheets in half, okay? And then making a little kind of flip book. I don't know what you want to call it. Anyways, let's cut these in half first of all. So what you need to do here is grab your decorative sheets that you want to use that would make the notebook pages. So I just use the ones that actually look like a notebook. Okay, and you can either mix them up a little. I think this will be my top page. Yeah, I think so. You're gonna need to grab a patterned paper for this part of the events, and you're going to want to stick that down now, because we're going to be cutting a slit into this piece here, right across here, for our notebook to tuck into. So we haven't made the notebook yet, but the notebook is going to tuck into a portion over here. Okay, so what I'm going to do is, I know my notebook is going to be this wide, which is 3 inches. So I need to cut a slit that is about 3 1/4 inches wide on this. And where we're going to start it, I've put a little mark here so you can see where we're going to start it. But it's at 1 1/4 inches from the top edge. So you're going to go 1 1/4 from the top. And then we're going to go 1/4 inch in and measure a line that's 3 1/4 inches long right here. Okay, so grab a ruler if you have one, and if you don't, grab a straight edge of anything. So I don't have an actual ruler on my desk, and I'm not gonna get up to find one. So all I'm doing is, and grab a pencil to do this too, so you can erase any marks when you're done. But I marked out a couple of things. Okay, so I marked out 1 1/4 from here. I'm going to go in 1/4 of an inch, which is here. Okay, and I'm going to measure, excuse me while I do this, we're going to measure 3 1/4 inches over, and just put a little mark so we know how far we're going. So 3 1/4 is here. But I said we were starting 1/4 from the edge, so we're actually going to mark over here at 3 1/2. Okay, so our slit is going to go from 1/4 of an inch in, which is here, to 3 1/2 inches. So that length of this will be 3 1/4. So the reason I marked those out is because I'm going to have to cut through the patterned paper and the backing paper. Okay, so let's do this. Just line this up, and now this is 1 1/4 of an inches down, so I'm going to just put my straight line across. Okay, I'm going to, sorry that I don't have a ruler, but anyways, I'm going to just draw a straight line here. Okay, and now I can draw straight lines down from where I put these measured notches. It's very hard to see on the patterned paper, but you should end up with cross-section points. And I'm just gonna put a little circle where I'm going end to end. So we're going from here to here. We're cutting right across. Okay, so I hope that made sense. You can punch a little hole there on the edges if you like, and I'll show you what I mean. This is optional. So, and I don't know if I actually can get in there. Can I? Nope. No, we're not going to do it because I can't get in there. So it doesn't matter. Okay, now open this up. What I want you to do now is stick your patterned paper down. So whatever you've chosen. Get your glue right to the edges. Not too close. You want room for the glue to spread, but close enough. Okay. Let's stick this down. Okay. And now we're going to cut along that line, and we're going to use our blade for that. And what you're going to do is position your paper so that you can see the line that you're cutting, but easier said than done, because like I said, this was in pencil, but I know it's along here, and I put little circle marks. So obviously do not use patterned paper like what I just did, because it's super hard to actually see the circles and where they ended up. But I know that there's one here. This is my intersection. And the other one is right over here, my other intersection. Okay. So let me just line this up. Okay, and we're going to go. I'm going to, sorry guys, while I line this up. So where my line is, even though you can't see it, and I can barely see it, I've lined this up along my blade track, because that's where I'm going to be cutting. Okay, so that's where we want to be cutting. And I said it was 1 1/4 inches from the top. So that line, once you line that up, you should be 1 1/4 inches from the edge. Okay, and then I'm going to slide my blade up to where I want to start cutting, which is 1/4 of an inch in. And I can see that now on my cutting blade, where that is. It's right there. And I'm going to cut 3 1/4 inches length along the line that I drew, but I can also measure it here. Okay, so we're going up to, just checking guys. Yep. Okay. So what you end up with is this slit, and when we make the notebook, it's going to tuck in, the back of it anyway is going to tuck into here. So before we glue everything down, we're actually going to make the notebook and make sure that we made our slit long enough to fit the notebook that we want in here. So let's do that now. Okay, the notebook, it's very easy. So grab your patterned paper that you want to use, or whatever paper you're going to be using for your notebook. Okay, and I'm using these sheets. So like I said, I cut them in half. I want them to actually be sitting a little bit not right down to the edge. Okay, so I'm going to cut off a little bit of these. I'm going to cut off 1/2 inch. I think 1/2 inch should do it. Okay. And then once I put this in, yeah, I like that. Yeah, that works. Okay. So now this is 7.5 inches tall, and I'm going to just put a backing on it with just regular old cardstock. So let's cut this piece down. So grab a piece of your white cardstock, okay, and cut it down to 3 inches wide. All right. And then we're going to cut this down to 8 1/8. 8 1/8. Okay, and then we're going to score this at 3/4 inch. So 3/4 inch, and then move this up 1/8 inch. So from 3/4, you're going to make a 1/8 inch little spine. Okay. So you should end up with this. So I'm folding along those score lines, and I have this teeny tiny 1/8 inch little tab. And then the pad is like this. So now I have a sort of sturdy backing for it. Oop, I made it a little, it doesn't matter. It doesn't have to be the same length because this is being tucked in. Okay, so that's it for the pad. Now what you want to do is take your patterned papers that are making up your score pad and score them all at 3/4 inch so that it's easy to flip flap. And now if you're going to chalk the edges, now is the time to do that as well. Okay, and then you can decide if you want to make a cover for it. There's a particular sheet you want as the cover. I kind of like this one for the cover, I think. Yeah, I'm going to go with that one. So put them in the order that you want them to be in. Just kind of give them a little fold back and forth along that score line. And then we're just going to tape them all together along there. So I did ink the edge of this top one already, so I won't bore you with inking all the pages, but I am going to ink around the top, and when we can decorate this later with some more patterned paper, but I want to make sure that I've kind of distressed that a little. Okay, so then let's move this so we don't need it for a minute. So then we're going to grab my double-sided tape, which is here, and this is so easy. We're just going to tape the pages together. So we're going to run some tape along the top. So just put some tape along the top edge of each of your pages. Go. And then we're going to just stick them in. And we made a notebook. One. You can make this a little thicker too. That's my top page, so I'm not going to use that one. You can certainly make this different sizes. This album, I think, is more, even though you can use it for photos, but it's also, I think, it's kind of a junk journal style of an album. Okay, and we'll just put this one down. Oh. It's better if you start lining it up from the bottom. There we go. Okay. That's it. So now this will slide right into the page we just put together. Okay. So I want this to very easily slide into here. And then I can replace it, I can use it elsewhere, but that's how this is going to look. Okay, so I'm leaving it in because now I'm going to attach this to the base. So I'm bringing back the album base that we made, and we're going to open it up and open again, and this is going to sit right here. Like so. Okay, so it's going to go right to the edge of this side. Okay, so I'm going to use glue. I'm just going to fold that flat for a minute. I'm going to use glue, and I'm going to make sure, I'm leaving this in here on purpose because I want to make sure that I don't, I know exactly where the glue needs to go. My glue exploded a little, and I don't want to get any glue in the way of being able to slide this pocket in and out of this pad. So I'm just going right close to the edge. I don't want the glue interfering at all with this. Okay, so now we can put this into the album. So line up to your outside edge. And when you're using glue, you have some room to move things around. Okay, there we go. Love it. And now I can just get rid of my little pencil marks that I made. Okay. We have a couple of more pieces that we're going to cut. So I have a little flap to cut for over here. So let's put this to the side. You need to choose some patterned paper, so go ahead and do that. I've chosen this one. And you're going to cut this down to 4 1/4 by 7 1/2. So 4 1/4 by 7 1/2. And then you're going to score this a 1 3/4 inches from each edge. Okay, so 1 3/4 inches from the left and 1 3/4 inches from the right. Okay, so it's going to look like this when you're done. Okay, now I want to miter these edges, but I don't want them to be uneven. So I want you to measure 1/2 inch from each side. Actually, 1/2 inch should do it, I think. But let me show you what I'm talking about, okay? I'm using this as my ruler, by the way, since I don't have one. Actually, we're going to go down 3/4 inch. So just mark 3/4 inch here and here. We're going to cut across that, okay? So do that on both sides. Measure out 3/4 inch. Where is that? And here, and I'll show you what I mean. Now we're just going to connect the dots and cut across those two spots that we marked out, which are hopefully visible. There we go. Okay, so I'm just going to chop those off edge to edge. You can even just use your scissors, but I just put a little notch there with my pencil so that I get the exact same size on each side. Okay, and over here, so it's here. This is all I'm trying to do. Okay, so 3/4 is here. Sometimes you need to, with the patterned paper, sometimes you can't see. Okay, so I'm just going to do this one now. And I'm mitering this edge as well. Yeah, I'm done. Okay, that's just the aesthetic I'm looking for here. Okay, and again, I'm going to just ink up the edges. And this, we're going to, once again, going to use our brads, or sorry, I keep saying brads. Going to use the eyelets here again. Okay. So let's just put that there for a second, and I'll show you what we're going to do, because I want, so I cut out a 3x4 card. You can do a few, but that's what's going to sit inside this little thing. Okay, so you can understand now, while you saw in the preview, what I'm trying to do here. Okay, so I'm just going to, also I want to maybe add, do I want to? Sorry, I'm thinking again out loud what I'm going to do here. Okay, so I'm going to take one of these tags, two of these tags actually, and I'm going to glue them here, just the top edge, because I like that little, I'm trying to just grab this little round part. That's all I want. So I'm going to take two tags, different patterns, where I can just cut across here and use them on this little piece. So let's grab two tags. I think I'll take this one, some contrast, something that contrasts. So I'm going to take these two here. Okay, so there's one that I want, and my other one is just this one on the edge. Okay, perfect. All right, I'm just going to cut off these edges. There we go. And then I'm going to cut these down to 1 inch, okay? So cut, because I just want this little top piece. And it's going to sit here on each side. So cut that down to 1 inch. All right. And we can just ink these up. And we're going to set the eyelet right through there. So again, bring your eyelets back, your eyelet setter. Just need two. Sorry guys. Okay, so let's stick these down so we can just put some glue. Glue is clogged. Okay. There we go. So stick these on first. Make sure they're lined up to each other. There we go. Okay. And now you can set your eyelets into these. So I'm just going to punch my hole first. Go. Here's my other one. And we're going to do the same thing. So this eyelet setter, I think I've got it on the wrong setting. Let me just flip this, try it again. I will fiddle with this later, but goodness. Okay. And then we're going to attach this piece to the album. Okay, so now we're going to cut this inside flap, little flap piece. So that's 4 by 4 3/4. So 4, go this way first, 4 by 4 3/4, and then you're going to score this at 1/2 inch. Okay, so let's go ahead and score that at 1/2 inch. Go. All right. And then we can just bring back our little piece that we made. So that's going to sit right on top of here. So I'm going to attach this first, and then we'll put this into the album. Oh my gosh. Okay, so that's covering, so it's covering the whole front of this little card. Okay, we don't have any white trim showing in this case. Okay, and I'm just going to ink the other side before I put this in. Okay, and so if we open up our album, this is going to go right here. So get your double-sided tape down on the outside, fold, and then just stick it right to the edge, like this. There we go. Okay, and then I'm going to cover this piece up with this sheet like that. And now let's talk about what we're going to do over here, because I want to make some pockets with tags. So that's just going to be really simple. I had already cut out, these are going to be tiny little tags fitting into some pockets here. So let's go ahead and choose your patterned paper. So what I want you to do now is maybe pause the video and pick your patterned papers for each of your pages. If you want to do them like me, then you can keep following along. Otherwise, you can fast forward this part, because I'm just going to start laying down some papers here that I want to use, and I'm going to ink the edges. So maybe I'll go through and show you what I'm picking, and then you can pause and stick all your patterned pages down. So I'm going to use this one for here. For the front cover, I kind of liked this little scene. So probably going to put that right on the front. Okay, so I've got this here. On this side, I think I'm going to choose a plaid. So that will go there. I like the way that coordinates here and there. And then I'm not sold on that front cover piece, by the way. I really like this too. I don't know if I'm crazy about those deer. Something about them. I might use this for the front. We'll see how I feel. I don't know. I wish I could take a live vote right now. Well, maybe I will use the deer. Anyway, let's leave the front for a second. It'll be a surprise. Okay, so I'm putting this one here. And then on the back, I'm just going to grab... I'm going to wait to the back for what's left over. Okay, I also have this beautiful wood grain. I'm going to put that somewhere on the inside. So, let's see. here. Actually, I'm going to put the wood grain here. Okay, and I am going to put this on my front cover. So I'm going to ink all my edges of these. So again, let me just go through them if you want to, if you're following along with the same paper. This will be the front cover. This is my inside piece. This is this side. Some plaid over here. This I'm going to leave for a minute because we're making a pocket, and the back I will leave until I have sort of scraps to choose from. Okay, remember now this has these little 3x4 cards tucked inside. Okay, and you could just put whatever scrap patterned paper you have left on the outside. Okay, so I wanted to show you, now that you hopefully come back and covered those parts that I told you to cover with the patterned paper, I'm just starting to build a pocket here. So I've cut just a piece diagonally across of the 6x8 paper, and then another little piece from that same sheet but just on the other side to make two kind of stacked pockets on this page. And so that will go right here. So we've got these kind of two pockets. We just need to glue this. Make sure you put enough glue, but only on the 3 sides. Okay. That. That is great. So we've got 2 pockets here. Now if we flip open, when you glue these down, you probably notice that they fit horizontally but not vertically, which is, we're covering the bottom either with other patterned paper, or we can put a pocket down there too. So I'm going to go ahead and make another pocket for here. So all I'm going to do is cut a 3-inch piece, and I'm going to punch a hole in the center, half a circle in the center, just so I have a notched pocket. I think that looks really good. I'll just ink this up. And you can see how quickly this little album comes together, and it's so cute. It makes a great gift, and it's not very complicated. So again, we'll just put glue on the 3 sides. Okay. So we're gonna tuck some tags into there as well. Gonna make some tags, tuck into there. Then over here, I'm thinking I'm going to make some tag pockets, but I also want to make a little belly band, I think. So I'm just trying to figure out where do I want the belly band to go. And I think I'll put it here, because actually I don't have any other space anyways. So for the belly band, you're going to need a piece of patterned paper that is whatever width you like. I'm going to use, I just picked up the scrap and it happens to be 2 inches wide, so that suits me just fine. So I'm going to add this belly band here, and then we can tuck things into it. We're also going to decorate the top of the belly band in a minute. So for the belly band, you just need to glue the top and the bottom. That will just go end to end there. Okay. And notice I pushed it in a little so it has some give, so I have space to tuck things under. Okay, so that's that. Now over here, this flap, this does tuck into the inside. So let's talk about how we're going to do the closure for this album. So I have an idea, and what you're going to need to do is we're going to cut a strip that is going to wrap around here. So this is 6 inches by 1.5. So cut a piece that is 6 inches by 1.5. Okay, and then I want you to score it at 1/2 inch and score again at 1 inch. Okay, so it's going to be like that. And it's going to be glued onto the back of the album, and it's going to be this flap that comes around the front here. Excuse me. Where that's going to go is you're going to grab a piece of patterned paper again. And again, this is 1 3/4 inches. And I'm going to glue it here along this side, because what I want is that this will tuck in under it, and that's how my book will stay closed. Okay, so let's stick these pieces in. So I need to ink some edges here before I do this, and I think I want to cover this up as well, obviously with some patterned paper, but let me stick this down first. So I'm being quite generous with the glue because this will get a lot of play. Now I have this in place so I know how far I need to stick this, but I think just enough to tuck, for this to tuck under. There we go. And there's that, and then we will embellish this later. And then this will glue onto the back, and we'll just use some double-sided tape and actually before I glue it down, I think I'm going to see if I can use just decorate that with some patterned paper before it goes down. So I think I'm gonna use this one here. Okay, all I do is I just mark out with pencil where I need to cut. I want about a 1/8 of an inch border around. So of course it's getting hard to see that on this dark side. I'm gonna have to cut it on this side, I think, so I can actually see what I'm doing. So here's one down there. Oh, I can't see it. Anyway, let's just okay. Okay. That is my scoring blade popped out of my trimmer. So let's just stick this down. Okay. And now I can stick this onto the back of the album. So I'm just centering it on the back. You can measure. Make sure that that score line is just past the edge so that it wraps around nicely like that, okay? And then that's what's going to happen here. Just tuck that in. And anyway, I just think that's really pretty and adds a little bit. What we're going to do now is decorate this piece. And what I'm going to do with that one is probably use some of these cards. So I think I'm going to pick up this Warm Wishes. Really like that. So cut that out. And just, I mean, all you're doing here is making some kind of embellishments. But I will do this one. We can do this one together for a quick minute because it's so cute. I think I want that one. Or I like this lantern too. So hard to decide. All the paper is so pretty. Let me see. I might change my mind here. Yeah, you know what? I think I will use this one. Yes. So in the pad, and I have embellishments for this, but because I bought the whole kit because I just love it, but I don't want to use up these things for you guys. I want you to see how to make this with just, you know, this little album. So I like this. I'm going to cut out a tag. I'm trying to use up what's inside the 6x8 pad to actually decorate the album. Okay, so I'm picking up this little tag. What we can do with this is actually make a little pocket in the front and then tuck little tags inside, which is super cute too. So imagine that. I'm going to grab a little piece here, and so I'm going to cut this down to I like this warm wishes. I don't really want to lose that. So I'm trying to figure out how to preserve all these pieces, but I don't think it's possible. So I'm going to take this and cut this down to about 1 inch by 3. Okay, so I need a 3 inches by 1 inch piece of this. Okay. Then we're going to just make a little notch in that with my half circle. We're going to just pop that out. Get a little bit of an inking. I can stick that on here. Okay. And then my little card will just fit right inside. Again, just gluing down the 3 sides here. Okay. Then I'm going to put an eyelet in here and decorate that a little bit. But for now, I think that's perfect, and I can stick that on here. And I will probably add some more into this pocket, just to embellish it a little bit more, but I'm going to put that here, and then this just tucks under both of those pieces. Okay, so that's that. Okay, so now that we've done the front cover, and you'll cover all this with patterned paper too, I want to show you inside some other things that I've done. So I think we did this together, but on the back of this I added a little belly band, and I'll be able to tuck something in there. I'm going to make a little envelope for that, so we'll do it together, but something thin can go in there for journaling. But right now I want to show you what we're doing with this flap. So we're going to put some pockets in here, but for now I want to work on this side, and on this side I'm going to make 2 pockets out of these 3x4 cards. So super easy. You're going to cut 1/4 of an inch off the top of the card, okay? Just so that you have a little bit more room, and just cut the cards individually. So I'm just sort of doing that, over here. But I'm going to put these cards here, and then there will be some tags that will make sticking out the side. So the other thing we're going to do is make a circle notch. Use your circle punch to make a notch at the top of each of these. And okay, so they're going to go right here. We're going to ink the edges because that will make them pop a little bit. And these will just hold 1 tag each, or a journaling card, or whatever you want. But that's what we're doing here, is these sideways kind of pockets. So we're going to just put glue down on the 3 sides. That. Okay. And do this one. I am using at least one of these little weird little looking reindeer pages. I don't know what it is about them. Their faces are strange to me. But anyways, I'm going to use them. Okay, up. There we go. Put this one here. And I'm going to leave this top section empty. Like I put my patterned paper like that on purpose. Okay, Okay, and then you can just go and tuck in little, whatever, little notes. I'm going to make some tags and we're going to tuck them in. Okay, so let's continue with these pockets. So I made some tags for them. So these are just measuring 4.5 by 2, and then I mitered the edges. Okay, so we're gonna cover these up with some patterned paper, and I was gonna use an eyelet, but I just want to show you another way in case you don't want to use eyelets or don't have eyelets, then you don't need to use eyelets. So I also then cut out these little pieces. Okay, so these are 1 1/4 by 1.5, I think. Let me just double check. No, sorry, they're 3/4 by 1.5. So these are 3/4 inches by 1.5, and I'm going to use these as little pull tabs, and they look super cute as well. So let me just show you. I'm going to put one of these together with you. Okay, so again, your cards are 4.5 by 2, and then just miter the corners there. So let's just put one of these together so you can see what I'm talking about. Okay. Go. And then I take one of these and I'm just going to put a little bit of glue at the top of my tag. And I'm going to stick this down, just center it there, and then I'm going to just put some more glue on the back, and I'm going to fold this over, but I'm not going to fold it, I'm just going to roll it so it stays kind of like a loop, like that. Okay, and that's just another way to make your tag pull. And those will just tuck into there. So one here, and then the other one, stick that down onto the other side. Okay, and then one last thing we're going to do together is make a little peekaboo envelope thingy that I'm going to tuck in under this belly band. So let's do that together. And then we will do a walkthrough of the finished album. Okay, so to do the pocket, little envelope I was talking about, we're going to cut a piece of paper into 6 by 6 square, first of all. Okay, and then we're going to score it at 1.5 inches all around. Okay, so we're going to score it 1.5 inches on all sides. You just grab my little scoring blade. So 1.5. On all 4 sides. You're going to end up with a little 3 by 3 envelope. Okay. So we're just going to fold it so we can see the lines better. There we go. Now what we're going to do is we're going to cut off the sides. So I'm simply going to go in with my scissors and I'm going to cut in from the corner where these 2 score lines meet at just a slight angle like that. Okay, I'm going to do this all the way around. And this is just a really quick and easy little envelope. And you can tuck some paper inside for journaling, have like a little secret journal spot for yourself. Okay. So easy and cute. Okay, so that's it. And that's just going to sit, we're going to be able to fold that up. Okay. and it's going to be in our album. We're going to tuck that in right here. Now I'll put my glue a little high up, but anyways, at any rate, it fits in. So that's just a cute little spot to add a little note card inside. So it's a 3x3. So then you can go ahead and cut out, say, a 2.5 by 2.5 little note card and put that inside there. So let's do that. Just looking through my scraps here, what I've got. Okay, so just a little, just to show you. So super cute. And that will tuck in right under here. Okay, and you can do this all over the place, wherever you put a belly band, in fact. There we go. So that's it for that. So I'm going to decorate a little bit more and then do a full walkthrough for you next. Okay, so let's do a final walkthrough of the project. So here's the box, and I still probably can add some patterned paper to decorate the inside, but literally this is all I have left after making the little folio. So not too much left. You'll see what I can do with that. But this is the box, and it stands up so you can put it on display, put things inside, Christmas cards, whatever, or keep this little folio in there. So inside we have our little folio, and I finished decorating it. So I covered the back, and as you can see, since I was running low on paper, I covered this with just some cardstock and then put a decorative card on top. I covered the edges with decorative paper as well. And then let's see what we've done here. So I've got this little pocket in front with just some little tags tucked in. Super, super cute. Everything is cute in here. Okay, on this side we've got this little fold out. So we've got some cards tucked in there. Okay. And then this opens up this way. I've got a belly band, and I tucked in this little envelope that we made together with a little card for journaling tucked away. Oh boy. Okay, there we go. Over here, under my belly band, so I tucked in just a photo mat, and then another photo mat folded in half, or journaling can go in there. And then I just stuck on some tags, and I cut out skates from one of the cards to use as embellishment. Okay. Now over on this side, we've got the two pockets. I just decorated this. Again, I cut out some of the pictures from the patterned paper, and I use those. So again, all we're using is a 6x8 kit here. And I made another photo mat, just matted that onto some white cardstock. Okay, and then we go this way, and we have another pocket, just some photo mats tucked in here. And then on this side, we've got this flap that opens with these tags. Okay, then we open this way, and we've got some more pockets. And some more journaling spots. This notepad that we made together with lots of journaling opportunity in there. And then I added in this little pocket down here, just tucked in some of these note cards that were on one of the pages. So cute. Okay, and then yes, that's it. So that's the album. And anyways, I hope you guys enjoyed this. If you did, obviously, please like and subscribe. It means a lot to me. I hope winter's over, honestly. I've had enough. But this is going to be posted up. And I know it's May, but that's okay. Definitely looking forward to my spring and summer projects coming up. Okay, guys, I'll talk to you soon. Thank you so much for watching. And have an awesome day. Bye now.